What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here. Welcome back to another Physical Media Friday. And this week I have an assortment of classics and lesser-known films and maybe a gem or two. And we'll start off with Psycho. Yeah, this was a really good price, so I had to pick this up. Great cover. I do know this film like the back of my hand, but look at all these special features. The Making of Psycho, Psycho Sound, In the Master Shadow, Hitchcock's Legacy, the shower scene with and without music, and feature commentary with Stephen Rebello. And I've been watching a lot of old Western TV shows, and the guy that plays the used car salesman in here, John Anderson, boy, he's good. He often appears on shows like The Rifleman, playing multiple characters in the same season, almost like a chameleon. And of course, I do have the next 3 Psycho films, so one of these weeks I'll have a Psycho week and watch a different Psycho movie every morning, and perhaps give them a review. Next, we have a film, the original James Bond film starring Sean Connery, Dr. No. It's not really my goal to get all of the James Bond films. I've gotten a few of the Roger Moore ones that I remember fondly. What can you say? Jack Lord's in this? I didn't know that. Don't remember that. And Ursula Andress, of course. I saw this on a plane going to Spain when I was in high school. And that scene when she emerges out of the ocean, that's quite a scene. Bernard Lee, of course. Just classic James Bond film. Next, here's a real classic on 4K. I'm dying to watch this. Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters, Night of the Hunter. There you see the tattoo on the hand. Hate. Just a love on the other one. There's just a fantastic Robert Mitchum performance. Charles Laughton's only directorial effort. Just what a movie. What a movie overall. If you haven't seen this yet and you're trying to round out your classic film collections, it's a must-see. Next, we have what I would call a real gem. This is a movie I saw years ago. Really stuck with me. Even Hand. You Can't Be Everybody's Friend. A powerful cop movie. Starring Bill Sage and Bill Dawes. Now, Bill Sage has gone on to appear in quite a few horror movies, including, actually, it's right over here, We Are What We Are. He was in the film Fender Bender. He has a kind of an off-putting way of talking. Like, he can make you uncomfortable, and that actually suits him well in this film, where he plays a police officer. There are some really heartbreaking scenes in this, also some hilarious scenes. There's one scene where he goes to confront some kids that are just goofing around at a diner, and he terrorizes them, and then he does something ridiculous, and his partner just cracks up. Just a slice of life cop movie. The more you learn about the one character who's like a confirmed bachelor, the more you learn that he's the way he is for a reason. You cannot mess with this guy. I mean, he seems to be a good cop, but if you cross a line, especially when it comes to domestic violence situations, you're in big trouble. And then we learn the backstory of that. Just a really solid film all around. Highly recommend that one. I haven't seen it in years, but highly recommend it. Next, filling out my Charles Bronson collection. Of course, this is from Kino. I get most of my Charles Bronson movies from there. Someone Behind the Door, also starring Anthony Perkins, and of course, Jill Ireland. Certainly one of his lesser-known ones. I think this takes place supposed to take place in Great Britain or France. I forget already. Usually I don't throw in reviews when I'm doing the Physical Media Fridays. I did watch this one, and I would say approach with caution. This is certainly not an action film. Almost like more of it feels like a stage play at times. I mean, it's essentially Perkins and Bronson in 1 or 2 rooms throughout the whole movie. Bronson plays an amnesiac. Perkins is a doctor who lies and says that he was just a drunk, and then brings him back to his house and starts to gaslight him for his reasons that may not be ethical. Good performances, for sure. Just, I would say, for die-hard Bronson fans only. Not only, but approach with caution. Here's one. Look at that slipcover. That's the original poster. John Borman's The Emerald Forest, starring the late, great Powers Boothe, and Charlie Borman. That's John Borman's son. I haven't seen this in years. But John Borman plays a land developer who's essentially knocking down the jungle, brings his son along. His son disappears and is raised by some of the native peoples, and he finds him years later, but now he's fully integrated into this tribe. I believe they call themselves the Invisible People. I guess they're good at camouflage. It's pretty exciting scenes. Apparently, in this tribe, the rite of passage into adulthood is that you have to be put into a pit and covered with fire ants. So John Borman said, oh, if that's what the actual rite of passage is, son, you're going to go ahead and do that. So he actually had to do that as part of the filming process. Heaven forbid we fake that. Let's cover my son with real fire ants. And lastly, boy, I've got a little story to go with this one. This is a strange one, guys. El Topo, the films of Alejandro Jodorowsky, the Chilean visionary filmmaker who essentially created the Midnight Movie. I mean, there's been whole documentaries about this. John Lennon championed him, Dennis Hopper used him, and Marilyn Manson loves him. Yeah, I mean, this film kind of started the phenomenon of the Midnight Movie, where you would, cultish type films would be shown at midnight in cities like New York City especially, and some celebrities would champion them, and they would take on a life of their own. This is a trippy, hallucinogenic Western about a master gunfighter and cosmic mystic, El Topo, who's played by writer-director Jodorowsky, who must defeat his 4 sharpshooting rivals on an ever-increasingly bizarre path to allegorical self-enlightenment and surreal resurrection. You almost have to see it to believe it. Of course, one of my favorite documentaries is Jodorowsky's Dune, which is about his efforts to bring the film Dune to the screen in the early 70s. Of course, that never actually happened, but so many other films and filmmakers sort of met each other and collaborated because of that fascinating documentary. Now, my story with this is, I worked in a video store. They kind of looked down their nose at places like Blockbuster. They had a lot of foreign films, a lot of classic films. And in order to rent there, you would have to, remember the old credit card machines where you would have to do that? They would take an imprint of your credit card and keep it on file in case you didn't return the movies. And to be fair, some of the VHS tapes that they were renting out were rare and unusual. And back then, believe it or not, some of them could be worth upwards of $60 to $100 in some cases. So it wasn't your typical video store. They had one bootleg, which they would rent out, and it was a VHS of this. And, it created a couple funny situations because it was like, well, I mean, most people were not just coming in to rent this one movie, but it created a situation where I guess if someone wanted to press the issue, they would say, well, why am I giving you an imprint of my credit card if you're just renting me out a VHS tape where you've taped another film onto? But that was the exception they made for some reason, I guess, because it was such an art house classic that they just really wanted to have it and rent it out. But apparently it has been released since then. But have you seen it? And if so, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about any of these films? Let me know in the comments below. Come back again for another Physical Media Friday. Later.